Hello, students, teachers, parents, whoever you are that has stumbled across this video, thank you for watching. It means the world to me that we're able to help some people out. So my name is Alex. I am the founder and the head tutor for the Teenage Tutor. We are a Kent-based tuition company, and you can check out our website at www.theteenagetutor.com, and we are at the Teenage Tutor on all social media. So you can contact us in any way you would like to. So I'm in year 13 and my exams have obviously been cancelled due to everything that's going on at the moment. So I thought that I would use the free time that I have over the summer to try and make something that might be useful in the next few years or however long they carry on doing the 11+. If you have a child in year 4, for example, now, then save this video and you can watch it next year. Just to give us a bit of credibility, in 2019, every single one of our pupils who took the 11+ passed. That is something that we're really proud to say, and we're hoping for similar success this year. Our business has grown massively since when we started in April 2018. We now have 45 tutors who are all 16 to 18 year olds working around the Sevenoaks area, but we're helping people up and down the country now that we can all work online. The first video, so today, we are going to be talking about non-verbal reasoning, which is something that's quite foreign for a lot of students because it's nothing that's taught in the school curriculum. We're going to start our non-verbal reasoning practice with our first video on SNS PASS. That may be foreign to a lot of you. My pupils hopefully will remember what that means. There are many different question types that come up in non-verbal reasoning. You can have codes, you can have cubes, you can have odd ones out, and all of these have a similar theme, which is that they're all to do with shapes. So this I thought would be a good thing to start with, because if you can grasp this concept, shape, number, size, position, angle, shading, then you are able to attack all of the non-verbal reasoning questions and give them your best shot. So if there's one thing you remember, I hope that it's this going into your exam. To make these videos help the most people that they can, it would mean a lot to us if you're able to share this with any parents who you think have children who this may benefit, or share it amongst your friends. The support would really mean a lot to us. If there's anything in particular that you think you'd like to see coming up in these videos, or if you have any questions that you're struggling with, please do email this to us. So my email is alex@theteenagetutor.com, and I'll try and work out a way to put that somewhere around me so you can see that. So please do get in touch. So that's probably enough of my rambling. We're going to go straight into talking about SNS PASS and how that's going to help you with your non-verbal reasoning. So I have written here our shape, number, size, position, angle, and shading, pre-written, ready to go. We're going to talk about what each of those values entail in looking at a shape. So if we were to think of any shape, that could be a triangle, could be a square, could be a circle, that could technically be a line. That's thinking about the actual shape that's in front of you. To do with number, we're thinking about, is there one arrow? Has the arrow got two heads? Has the circle got two circles inside? That sort of thing. With size, you're thinking about exactly what it says on the tin, yeah? You're thinking about big shapes, small shapes, medium shapes, and everything in between. Then with position, we're thinking about shapes in relation to other shapes. So you could have a square like this that has another square on its corner. Or you could have a square like this that has another square just below its corner. That would have different positions, and that would mean that that could be the small difference between two of the choices in your answers. Then you've got angle. That is the way shapes are rotated, as well as like direction of arrows. Arrows come up a lot in non-verbal reasoning, so that's definitely something to look out for. So you could have an up arrow, a down arrow, sideways, all of that sort of thing, as well as the angle, as well as the angle of shapes, so how they're rotated. This is especially handy for examples where you're looking at, if this shape goes to this shape, what does this shape go to this shape? We'll come to one like that later. But that's where angle comes in really handy. And then lastly, we've got shading. So you could have just a shaded in shape like that. You could have a shape that's shaded in, but kind of crossed like that. You could have stripes in all sorts of angles, so that also links to that. And then you could also have, spots, you could have small dots like this, you could have big polka dots, all sorts of shading. So that's the other thing to look out for. Your test will be printed in black and white, so you're not going to be dealing with coloured shading, just grayscale. So let's go on to our first example. We have here an example of filling in the missing box. Okay, so we have a box of 4, we've got 4 options, and we need to work out which one of our 4 options are going to go in here. To do that, we need to look at our SNS PASS. On my first glance, I would say that I'm probably going to look at angle, because it looks like the boxes are rotating, and we're going to look at shape because we've got squares within here. So angle and shape. Let's start with shape. That's probably the most obvious thing to work with. If we've got this bent right angle with 2 boxes on top, that's identifiable and it appears in all 3 of these boxes. That means we can straight away eliminate option B because that doesn't contain the bent right angle. All this has is a straight line with the 2 boxes on it. So the 2 boxes are there, but the angle is not. So we can cross that one out. Then if we look at our other feature that we're going to look at, we've got angle. So that's almost a rotation here. So we're going from the base being on that line to the base being on this line to the base being on this line. Let's see if we can demonstrate this. So what I've drawn just under here is a box with a line in it, and that's going to represent this box here. So I haven't drawn exactly the same shape. I've just done a rough sketch to help you guys see what's going on. What you can see is if I rotate that clockwise for 90 degrees, the line is now on the same side as in that box. And the same thing again, another 90 degrees clockwise, and we match up with this box, okay? So we want to be doing the same thing to get to the mystery box. So we want to go around 90 degrees, whoop, nice and big. And we want to get it this way. So we can see from that demonstration that the shapes are being rotated 90 degrees clockwise. If we then imagine this first box here being rotated down 90 degrees clockwise, we're going to see this shape being formed. Okay, so this part of the flagpole is going to be nearer that edge just from the way that it's rotated. So we're going to be looking at not option D because the flagpole's on the opposite side of the square. So we're now looking at A or C. Then using our shape feature again, we can eliminate A just because of the way the boxes are positioned. Okay, so we can also bring in position into this one. So for this example, our answer would be C. So let's try this question. So what we've got is a group to one side that is full of bow ties. And these bow ties have got all different patterns in them. So I said a keyword, pattern, which is our SNS PASS shading. Okay, so we've got stripes, spots, and black. What we do notice though is that they're uniform. So there isn't one half of the bow tie being black and one half being spotty. So what we can do there is we can eliminate that one, that one, that one, and that one, purely from that one reason. And we're left with E. So that was a really, really quick way of spotting straight away which was the right answer for this question. You also could have eliminated, in case this was the way that you saw it first, you also could have worked out based on the shape of the bow ties. So the bow ties here are 2 triangles joined at that top corner, whereas this one has a circle in the middle, so it wouldn't be that. This one has a square between the triangles, so it wouldn't be that. This isn't a complete bow tie, and this one is 3D, and none of the others are 3D. So again, our answer would be E. Okay, another question. So this one, again, is probably looking at patterns, and as I mentioned before, it's an is to as question. So is to as questions are talking about relationships between this pair and therefore a mystery pair. So this shape is rotated 90 degrees clockwise. And if we zoom in really far, we can see that the shading is different. So this square would be equivalent to this square, but they're not the same pattern. So we need to notice what's changed with the pattern. Okay, so where we have spots here, or dots, they've changed to stripes. Yeah, well, we could do the same thing with another pattern to see what the relationship is. So let's have a look at this stripy square. Well, the equivalent square would be this one, and that's black. So that means that stripes have gone to black. So let's have a look at the black square. So this black square here has changed to spots. So we've then got black to spots. So overall, we have spots to stripes, stripes to black, and black to spots. So we've got our little code to go from, as well as the fact we know it's rotated 90 degrees. So let's deal with the rotation first. So let's see how our shape here would rotate if it's gone around 90 degrees. So what I've done here is I've just copied this shape so I can play around with it a little bit and you can see what it would look like when it's rotated. Obviously in the exam, you can't just copy and paste the shape. You're going to have to try and imagine this in your head, but doing practice like this will help. So we're going to rotate that 90 degrees and we're looking for a shape in that pattern. So we're imagining this C shape becoming an almost table. So you can see that this arrangement of boxes appears in A, B, and E. So what we can do now is eliminate C and D. So now we need to look at our shading code that we talked about earlier. Now, the shading in this is quite similar between all of the options. So the first thing we need to do is look at the differences in shading, and that will help us eliminate. Rather than go through each box in turn, that could be quite time consuming. So we're going to look, let me highlight so you can see. Can you see that there's differences there between all of that green section that I've highlighted? So what that shows is that we need to be looking at this section of the shape and compare that to our code. So we have spots going to stripes. We have spots here, which means that this top corner of that green should be stripes. I hope you've noticed that in B, it is stayed spotty, which means that we can eliminate option B. So we're now left with just between A and E. Now we can look at the bottom of our little table leg that we made, and that is black and it needs to change to spotty based on our code that we made before. And if we look at option A and E, option A is black and option E is spotty. So that means that we should be picking option E. Good. And obviously in the exam, you'd have an answer sheet. You're not going to be writing it on the actual question paper. I'm just doing this so it's easier to see. So on to another question. So we have 5 options here, and this shape has been expertly hidden inside one of these shapes. We need to work out which one it is. So to do that, we need to consult our SNS PASS again, and we need to work out what properties we need to be searching for. So to do with arrows, we need to be looking at the arrowhead in particular, because that's going to identify the arrow for us. That's going to be the direction that it's pointing, which comes under angle or position. So we can highlight those. And then we also want to be looking at the number of arrowheads. So they could trick us and accidentally put 3 in, or it could only be 1. So we need to also be looking at number. We're going to go through each option in turn and work out if our mystery shape appears. So let's look at option A. So we can see that the arrowhead here actually only has 1. So we can count that that's not the same number. So we can eliminate option A. Now looking at option B, the same thing appears. So we've got actually 3 lines at the bottom, but only 1 at the top. So it doesn't match with our arrowhead. So again, we can cross out option B. Option C, we can look at the angle of these. They're going the opposite way. They're not in the same position as in our mystery shape, our test shape. So we can cross out option C. Now option D, we have 2 arrows, so we need to look carefully at them both. This bottom one, the arrow tail should be coming out from the head and not the other way around. So it's not going to be that part of the shape, but this top bit does look quite familiar. So we have actually found our hidden shape in shape D. What we're going to do is just have a quick look at shape E just to check that it's not that. We have got this 2 arrowhead, but we also have an extra line, so that doesn't directly match with what's here. So we can also cross out option E. So we're left with option D for this shape. So that concludes our work on SNS PASS today. I hope you enjoyed what we did. I will link down below all of the resources and give credit for where I got those questions from. There are a lot of free resources online, so you can definitely have a Google and see if there is anywhere where you can practice these skills with other questions. The last thing left to say is a big thank you for watching, and I hope to see you when we post the next video.